What advice do you have for creatives, video or written or drawing or whatever it may be? What advice do you have for them to kind of work with marketing agencies? Because I know you've done a lot with that.
So I keep my mind keeps going. There's this director at HubSpot. His name's Dan Tyre. I don't know if you've ever been to one of. He was
Yeah,
at
I
one
think
of
I
our
filmed
one
one
of our,
when he spoke. Yeah,
if he didn't go into technology, should have been a comedian. But he has a saying which is it answers the question. First of all, is the riches are in the niches. I think that you know I I don't know how many emails I get a week from, we'll call them creators, right? Other agencies who want to help, or want to do the development, or designers, or there's so many of them, and it's overwhelming. So it's the, the first it's my first person advice is you got to be real, try to be the best at something. That's very specific, right? Video is, as you know, and much better than I do, there's so much of video, right? There's long form, there's short form, there's micro, there's editing, there's shooting, there's pictures, I don't know, whatever, there's just all over. And then so that, if that's your thing, you want to be really great at a really specific thing, or it might be for a specific industry. The more the smaller you go, the bigger you'll get. That's kind of my philosophy on that. And the other thing is that if you do that, you can kind of get around the agencies. A lot of companies are out there want to work directly with the freelancer. And a lot of times when we have to work with freelancers, we actually give our customers the option to go work directly with it. Why? I mean, if you work through me, I'm usually transparent. We're gonna, whatever he charges us, we're gonna charge on top of top of that something,
yeah, of
and it's
course.
just the way they know that, and we know that, and why not say it out loud? And so we've been, sometimes it doesn't make sense because it's part of a bigger project.
Yeah.
But I think that so that's number two, is like if you're really good at a niche, you'll be able to you started working with us, and I'm sure other agencies, but I know that you probably have your own customers.
Yeah.
And I think that the third thing, which I'm sure you're going to ask as your next question, I think the personal brand is really important, because for me or any other company, we're getting a lot of emails, we're getting a lot of things. So if we had, if I'd seen a video of yours, online, and you caught my attention and you had a brand, it would be the chances of engaging with you or replying to your email would be much higher. So that's those are some pieces.
I think just on the other side is that oftentimes people, I think, especially before they're very established in their field, they get nervous to brand themselves in an area that maybe would be to the exemption of another area. Like, somebody might like somebody to do video. I do video. Okay, great. So personally, I've worked with, I'm aiming much more for businesses and tech companies and, you know, companies and individuals who have budgets, real budgets, and are not afraid to use their money because they know they're going to drive in much more money.
Right.
Whereas I've worked with nonprofits, and I've worked with agencies, ad agencies, marketing agencies, and individuals, and and I notice a lot of people, it's like, if I aim for one thing, well, what about the rest of that income? Like maybe a person who's a consultant, maybe they're not going to want to contact me because they're like, oh, they only do tech videos, and therefore, like, I'm not going to work with them. So I think there's a little bit of a fear. But I've also
Yeah.
had this conversation with a dear friend of mine, who he says, I'll be honest, he does okay. He does pretty well for himself. I don't know exactly what he makes, but he's bought a house, and he's doing well. And especially in Israel, it's not so simple. And he does it's his own thing. But he said one of the things that he always regrets, he's not even such an old guy, he's in his 30s. He's like, I regret not being like an expert in one field. He's like, I'm very, very good in a lot of different things. I'm really good
Yeah.
in a lot of different areas, but I'm not great And he's like, the people that I know that are great in one thing, it might be tough in the beginning for them to really establish themselves, but eventually their ceiling is significantly higher than a Swiss Army knife. Because the Swiss Army knife's like, okay, you can do that. Can you do this? And great, great, great. But then they're not that super expert that I need you to solve every issue there.
It comes down to a few things. First is when you're, the arguments for, the arguments against are clear, and there probably are more. And the first is when someone wants to work with you, they want to feel that you've done something similar with somebody similar.
Mm-hmm.
And so having that, even if what you do, you could do it for many other people, and it'll be just as good. Maybe it could be that the strategies we use for our customers, we could probably do in other industries.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, maybe I don't know. I don't know. But that drives trust, and trust, like, I can't express how important trust is in any kind of engagement in sales. The second is, as you focus on that, you get better at that specific thing. Again, you can either go industry or you can go skill, right? It could be, I'm going to be the best PPC person in the world, and maybe you do it for broad. But believe me, if you're the best PPC for B2B tech companies that sell, I don't know, whatever analytics
SaaS products.
software,
Yeah.
you're gonna do so much better. You're gonna scale. It just and because there's the two things is that it's gonna be much easier for you to close deals. You're only gonna get pipeline of companies that are relevant to you. So your close rates are gonna go up. You're spending less time on the phone selling to companies that don't fit your nondescript profile. And the most important part is you'll be able to charge a premium.
Yeah, well, that definitely definitely is the most important part. Yeah, there's a lot to say there. And once again, it's overcoming that fear. It's overcoming the fear of
Yeah.
if I'm
Look,
going all in, how do I know? I mean, it's kind of like a little bit like kind of getting married. Like, am I going to choose this one person for the rest of my life? Well, hopefully if you actually work at it and you're good and you continue to work at it, then yeah, guess what? You can.
but it's not right, because you're allowed to switch. You're allowed to. It's
The business you are, okay.
yeah. You can you're gonna try something. You're gonna fail. You'll learn from it, and you'll iterate.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, this is what people confuse with strategy. Is such a overused word. And Shoham's our chief strategy officer. She explained to me what strategy is. Strategy is just a fancy way to say a couple things. One is planning. If you picked your niche, you can create a plan around it. It's actually much easier to create a plan around something very specific. And second, strategy means saying no. People have a really hard time saying no. And when you say yes, and I can speak from experience. I'm sure you mentioned, I think you saw my video yesterday. When you say yes, when you should have said no, bad things happen.
Seriously. The other day I was speaking with somebody. They're looking for a person to do content for their social media. So I was like, I'm a content guy. I do video, So I sent it out, and then they're like, do you do websites? I'm like, here's the deal. I did my own website. I'm not a guy who does websites. That's not my thing, but it's interesting because there can be a pull. Is like, well, if you dangle, because you know what, there's a guy, Chris Do from the future. I don't know if you've heard of Chris Do. He's a creative, he's a graphic artist, and he has this company called The Future that they teach freelancers and artists like how to build businesses. And he's very much into whatever the and it's hard, whatever the client needs, you can do, but you become the manager of the project, and you say, for whatever budget, I can find the best person to do the thing. Whereas, for you, it's what you're saying is like, you at least understand that you need to know your strengths. Maybe if your greatest strength is a project manager, and that's great, and I can put all the pieces together, then fine, do the Chris Do method of saying, yeah, I'll do whatever you need, because I'm the greatest project manager and I can get this guy and that girl and I can do amazing things. But if you're much more into the creative yourself and building your own brand, and you really got to niche out and go all in. And as you said, and Shoham said, it's okay to say no, and not only okay, but it's recommended to say no to things that are outside your expertise.